Hello. Good morning. No, afternoon. I always do that. Why do you do a live at 12 o'clock? So I always get confused whether it's morning or afternoon. Okay. Hello. How are you today on this Wednesday? Happy Wednesday. I've just finished recording a couple of workouts for a pregnant lady I'm supporting through her pregnancy, and so quite aptly I've got lots of other bits of equipment and things here to help support her. One of them being my big ball, which I'm sat on, which is quite apt for this talk that I'm going to give you. So instead of a chat on the mat, it's a chat on the ball. I'm going to be talking to you about being a fidget. Now this, if you saw my session, my chat last week, you'll have a hint of what I'm talking about, and lots of people commented on that afterwards. So this sort of follows on from that. Being a fidget is a good thing, and in my days as being a primary school teacher, it was very hard. I'd have to catch myself. You'd find yourself saying, "Will you sit still, please? Will you sit still?" And now sometimes I can catch myself saying to my children, "Will you just sit still?" Because children fidget, don't they? They move. But that's because they're just going with their body's instincts, you know, and that is what our body needs to do. It needs to move. We were born to move. That's a chapter in my book. So if you're interested in what I'm talking about, then grab my book and read it, because I will go into more depth in there. But we were born to move. However, we live in a lifestyle which is predominantly I can't say it. Seated. I can't say it this morning. Sedentary. That doesn't sound right. You know what I mean? Where we're sat all the time, or lots of the time. We're sat when we're eating. We're sat when we're watching telly. When we're relaxing. We're sat in a car. We're sat at a desk for work, and so on. And as I talked about last week, even swapping to a standing desk is not good enough. It's not going to solve the problem. I'm not going to go into that now. Watch my chat from last week if you want to know about standing desks. So we sit a lot of the time. We are in static positions a lot of the time. We don't really move. Yet our bodies need to move. Our movement is medicine. Movement helps us stay healthy in so many ways. Just a few off the top of my head. By moving, you help to keep the circulation going through your body. That in turn brings oxygen to all the muscles, to your brain, helps you concentrate, helps you be productive, helps you think clearly. By moving, you breathe. Obviously, you're breathing when you're sitting down. Anyway, you're breathing all the time. But as you move, you require more breath. Yeah, more oxygen. And so we use our rib cage, our lungs more. And through Pilates, one of the things we focus on is our breathing. That was a really important point for Joseph Pilates, was our breath. And it really helps. We often can be lazy with our breathing, and we just breathe up in our chest, you know, short breaths, or we breathe into our bellies, rather than actually using our lungs, which is what they were made for, and our rib cage, and using and working all the intercostal muscles in the ribs and so on. And the breath brings fresh oxygen into the blood, and then if you've got that circulation going, you've got that blood supply going round, and oxygen to all the organs, brain, internal organs, muscles, everything that you need. The blood also helps with healing as well, and so we need to get it to all areas of our body. And the circulation as well is going to help you if you suffer with things like cold feet and so on, or if you're sat really still, or stood really still. So I touched on this last week. The blood just can pull to the bottom of our legs. The muscles, when they're moving, help to pump that blood back up to our heart. It's quite a long way from your legs up to your heart. And so the movement helps that function. If we're not moving, it's more difficult. Moving also helps to lubricate the joints. So even if you suffer from arthritis, some gentle movement helps to keep the joints mobile and helps to lubricate them. That's just a couple off the top of my head. Other benefits of moving So we've talked about mentally as well. You feel better, don't you? It releases those natural endorphins, those natural feel-good chemicals, where after you've done something, you moved around, you feel better than when you just sit or just stand. You feel tired and lethargic, and then it's harder to concentrate, and everything seems to take longer, and you make mistakes and so on, and you feel like you haven't got that energy. Whereas actually when you move, you actually feel more energetic. People sometimes say to me, oh yeah, I'm just too tired, I haven't got the energy to exercise. Well, actually, let's flip that on its head, because if you exercise, you'll have more energy. So there's lots and lots and lots of benefits of moving. And also, like I say, we were born to move. Now, the topic what I'm talking about today is, okay, so we predominantly sit, okay? We sit all the time through most of our day. Can doing some moderate, vigorous to high intensity exercise help to combat that? And go, well, that's okay. You know what? Because I'm sitting for over 8 hours a day, I'm doing this exercise class, or I'm doing some, moderate to high intensity exercise for an hour or something in a class or whatever. That's okay, because that balances it out. And that is a misconception. That is not true. You can't, just doing a bit of exercise will not, and is unlikely to compensate for the amount of time we sit. Because for most of us, now this might not be you, but for most of us, we sit for longer than we are moving. And even if that movement, that exercise is quite vigorous and high intensity, it's not even going to scratch the surface of all the static positions, all the stillness in our day. So that is just not going to cut it. It doesn't cut it. It doesn't matter how vigorous or high intensity, you go and do a HIIT workout or whatever, or a circuit class or something like that, and it's just not going to cut it, okay? The research shows that even the recommended 150 minutes, now this is in the UK, so if you're watching elsewhere it might be different, but in the UK our physical activity guidelines from government is 150 minutes of moderate to vigorous activity a week. That is not going to really, again, scratch the surface. You are still going to be subject to the negative impact of too much sitting. Even if you do what the government say, oh, well, I've done my 150 minutes of moderate to vigorous exercise this week, and the rest of the time you've just sat still or stood still and you haven't moved, it's not going to help. You're still going to, like I say, be subject to the impact of those negative, the negative effects of too much sitting and being still. And if you're not sure what they are, look back through some of my posts, some of my information, some of my emails you may have got on my chat last week where I talked about that a bit more. What we need to do instead, and this is something, or not instead, as well as, because exercise is good, that is still good to be doing something, of course it is. But what really makes a difference is low intensity, non-exercise activities, i.e. moving. And again, in my book, Enjoy Moving and Feel Fabulous, I talk about moving. And for some of my clients, they say, yeah, I'm going to move today. I'm not going to exercise, because exercise has other negative connotations for them. And so they say, actually, I'm going to move because that feels a bit lighter, a bit easier for them, and therefore more achievable. So non-exercise activities, just movement through the every day, is actually more important than you might realize. Like things like walking, going up and down stairs, try and think of other things now. Just getting up, moving around, reaching for things, reaching out of cupboards, bending down, just twisting around, all these just different movements, you know, bending down to do your shoelaces. What else? Walking is such a good one, a key one. Is basically not being still, but you're not having to jump around either. These low level activities, this movement, play a really crucial role in maintaining our metabolism, and they actually account for more than our daily energy expenditure than moderate to high intensity activities. All these little movements you do during the day, which is why fidgeting is so good for us, because instead of sitting or standing and being still and feeling lethargic and our circulation sort of not really happening and our feet getting cold, and we're lacking concentration and we're getting stiff and our spine is compressing because we're sat for a long time, our hips are getting tight, our back starts aching, and we don't do anything, but we've got to sit and work, and 7 hours have gone by, 8 hours have gone by, and then we do a massive high intensity bit for a little bit, and then we go back to sitting again. It doesn't help. We need this. I'm trying to sort of show you like a visual graph. That's how I'm imagining it. These little bits of activity all the day, that's going to keep your metabolism going, keep it maintaining it, and keep that movement, all those benefits of the movement at the forefront, rather than you just losing everything, that negative impact of sitting and declining, and then trying to do loads and loads in a spurt, and then going back to sitting again. You're more likely to injure yourself, to be honest, and you just don't get the benefits. So it's little and often, and therefore fidgeting, and I'm going to start fidgeting again, therefore fidgeting is really good for you. Fidgeting, walking, just keep getting up and down, take regular breaks from what you're doing. It all helps. Okay, it all helps. Now I've got a download that I will share underneath this video with 33, I've thought of more since actually, I need to add them on, of things you can do and incorporate into your everyday life. So if you're stood waiting for the kettle to boil, don't just stand there. Stretch, use the sideboard, put your arms out and stretch round the back, twist, reach down to your feet, something like that. If you're putting your shoes on, don't sit down to do it. Stop sitting down, roll down, try and keep your legs as straight as you can, lengthen through the back of the neck, and tie your shoelaces. With your what else? Oh, I've got loads. You can roll down in the shower. You can, when you're in the car, if you're sat in the car, often I am sat in the car, unfortunately, waiting for children, doing activities and so on, then get the back, put your hand on the back of the seat and just, or on the side of the car, and do some nice spine twists, reach round behind you. Move the seat back and roll down and stretch out. I have got on my YouTube channel a Pilates workout in the car, so you can check that out if you want to, if you find you're sat in the car a lot as well. Get up, move. If you can't get up, if you're in a situation going, okay, Gila, yeah, I get all this, but I'm in an office and I can't keep getting up and walking around, I've got to sit and work, then fidget, move around, move your hips side to side, move your back, change position, sit more on one side, sit more on another side, change your chair, stretch your legs out, do some ankle circles with your feet, point and flex your feet, bend your knees up. Again, I've got some take a break from your desk sessions, and I've got one that is sat in a chair. So you can do that, just go side to side. Whatever, just do some little things. There's an awful lot of movement you can do even when you're sitting. And so even though you're sitting, you're moving. So the point is move and fidget. You don't have to be sat still, and you don't have to be stood still at a desk. It's about all these little bits of movement. So I'm challenging you to get as much movement throughout your day, woven in through everything you're doing through the day, because that is going to be such huge benefit for your health, physically, mentally, and it's doable and it's easy. You can then add in a bite-sized Pilates session. Of course you can. For 10, 15, 20 minutes. You can, of course, do something more high intensity. Of course you can. But what I'm saying is that high intensity exercise, which we often think, oh, that's good, I've done my exercise for the day, I can now go back and sit. It doesn't compensate for the amount of sitting we do. Okay. Or the amount of static positions we are in during the day. We want to keep our body moving all the time. Keep the joints lubricated, keep the muscles relaxed. When we hold ourselves in one position, everything stiffens and tightens. Okay, I feel like I've been talking really quickly this morning because I'm passionate about this and trying to help people get this message across that it's easy to just get movement into everything you're doing. And if you need one of these stability balls, are really good to sit on as well because they make you fidget. So don't tell yourself you've got to sit still. Don't tell your children you need to sit still. Moving is good for us. So fidget away. And I'll put some links below to my 33 ways you can incorporate some Pilates into your everyday. I'll also put a link below to my book in case you're interested in finding out a bit more. And I'll also put a link there to my core membership as well with bite-sized Pilates in if that's something you're interested in. So have a lovely rest of your day. Take care, keep moving, and I will see you very, very soon. See you later.